Well, hello once again, fellow flight simmers and cockpit builders. This is going to be the fourth video of my little series on 7-segment displays. This should be the final one, and today we're going to be talking about configuration options for 7-segment displays. So we're going to be mentioning the characters available to display on 7-segment displays. We're going to talk about brightness control, and we're also going to talk about putting multiple parameters on one display and also offsetting the data on the displays the way it shows up. But before we get going any further, I'd like to remind you guys that I am not affiliated with SimVimX and I do not represent them. I just give you my opinions and my way of understanding the material. Please visit their website at simvimx.com so you can read all the technical data and info, and you can probably get some information that I may have missed. Part of this disclaimer for this particular video is going to be that I am going to talk about some things that have a little bit of issues, and I'm going to probably talk about one way to kind of work around one of them that involves manually editing the config file, which they don't want you to do, and is not recommended because the format has to be a very specific way or it might not work. But if you really need to, I'm going to show you something that might come in handy if you need it. All right, so first thing we're going to do is go over to the website here, and we need to go over to the hardware section and the 7-segment display section. So we already talked a lot about the types of displays, how to connect them, and everything, right? So today we're going to be talking about the configuration options, and they don't have a lot of information here regarding configuration options. It's basically most of it I just played around with the different things on the website and the configurator, and I came across different things that you can do. But one thing they do mention right here is the custom text or symbols that are available to display on 7-segment displays. So obviously you cannot display all the letters, right? But you can display all the numbers. Obviously that's what they were originally made for. But here is a list of all the letters that you can display on 7-segment displays. Some of them are only in capital letters, some of them are only in lowercase letters, and then you also have the degree symbol and a hyphen, an underscore, and an overscore, I guess you can say. But you can also do custom text, as part of one of the options for 7-segment displays. So right here, they give you a couple of examples that you can write like channel CH with a capital C and a lowercase h, or both capital. You can write PR or pro for programming, ERR or error, the entire word. And then of course you can do the temperature, the little round thing for the temperature, and then like I said, the underscore, overscore, or hyphen. All right, the other part that we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about this at the end because I think it's the most complicated one, but you can also display more than one data value on the 7-segment display. So you can have 2 or 3 independent data depending on the type of display. Obviously, if you have an 8-digit display, you can display something with 2 characters and a space, and 2 characters, then a space, then 2 characters. So that could be 3 parameters total on one display. But we're going to be talking about that a little bit here. And it does talk about offsetting, so basically shifting the data from the right, and that's what we're going to be mentioning later on here. So that's going to be the third subject that I'm going to be talking about, because I think it's going to be the one that takes the longest. But if we go over to my table here, you can see that I already have 4 displays set up here like before, but I have 2 7819s and 2 TM1637s, and then I have a potentiometer, sliding potentiometer on this side, and a rotary potentiometer on this side. So we're going to be talking a little bit about brightness control regarding all that. So we should have all the parameters already in place for all the 4 displays now. So we can go ahead and save the configuration file. And we're going to save it once again in our SimVimX folder, and it's going to be called data like always. So we'll go ahead and save it. And then I'm going to go ahead and start up the simulator, and I'll be right back when it's up and running. All right, so here we are in the simulator now, and since I had already saved the configuration file, all the displays came alive as soon as we are dropped into the simulator. So You can see right here that the 8-digit max 7219 is already showing the correct course 1. So if we look over here on the simulator, we can see that it is showing course 1 238. But if we look at the max 7219 right here, you can see that not only is it offset, but it has the digits backwards again. So it's saying like it's 172 when in reality our heading is 271. So you can see that as I change it here, it's obviously wrong, right? So we have to right away go back to the website and or the configurator and do what I had mentioned on the previous video so that it can get fixed. So we got to go over to the website and we're going to go to that's display on pin number 36. So we'll go ahead and click on that one here. And remember, we had to put mirroring here, and we also have to come to the data here, to the parameter, and put a 0 in the offset and confirm it so we can save the configuration file again, replace the one that we just saved, overwrite it, and then if we go back to the simulator again, we should be able to just reload the configuration. And then, like I mentioned also on the previous video, we have the 888s that show up, but it's still offset for some reason until we move the heading, and then it'll fix itself. And I really don't know why it's doing that, why it's still offset that way, 2 digits. Remember I mentioned before that I hated the Max 7219s for these reasons, but anyway, we're only going to be talking about a couple of things here anyway regarding the offsetting, so it actually will come in handy. And we can see that on this display, the 6-digit TM1637, we do have the COM1 standby frequency, so that's okay. And then on this one, we have 24.0, which is the degrees that it's in the cabin temperature right now in Celsius. All right, so, but first thing we're going to talk about right now is the display brightness. That's the first thing I wanted to mention. Obviously, right here, you can see that this display is brighter than all the other ones, right? So if we go back over to the website, and if we go to the cockpit main and you go to sim control under generic, this is one of these things that's not really talked about too much unless you go through every single page. You know, you're going to figure out about it. So it talks about brightness control for SimVimX hardware. So this can be used by LEDs and 7-segment displays, but we're going to use it obviously with 7-segment displays. And they do have a little thing right here regarding you know, how to use it. So we're going to be talking about that right now. So here's the deal. They have 5 brightness controls right here for potentiometers, and then they have 5 for buttons, I mean for switches. So you can either have a simple on and off toggle switch where we'll turn off the displays and turn them on. You can have a 3-position toggle switch. It would be an on off on switch, and that one will make it off, half brightness, and full brightness. Or you can have a potentiometer, which will give you the full range of brightness, you know, from dimmer all the way to the dimmest to all the way to the brightest. So there's only one problem here. These on the configurator, they're known as B0, B1, B2, B3, and B4, even though right here they're called B1 through B5. And what I found right now, and I brought these things up to Vlad, is that the B0, which is actually the B1, doesn't work right now. Only the B2 and the B3, which are actually B1 and B2, they do work and they are selectable. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to start off with this pin since we're already here on pin 36. And if you go right here, you can see right here that you have a lot of different options to select for the brightness control. So we're going to set it up for brightness 1 for that one. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about right now. You see all these things right here, that all the cockpit brightness zones that they have right here. So basically you can use your main panel brightness in the cockpit, or your overhead brightness, or your pedestal brightness. It should be working, but it's not. So I've tried all of these, and whether I set it to a hardware potentiometer or not, it doesn't affect the brightness of the displays. So we're only going to be talking about physical generic hardware only brightness controls, okay? And like I said, this brightness 0, it doesn't work. So we're only going to play with 1 and 2. All right, so we put brightness 1 right there, We're done. And then we're going to go to the pin on number 32 and we'll do the same thing. We'll select brightness 1 for that one, put done. Okay, and on this side, I have another potentiometer that I have connected over here on pin number A12, analog 12. The other one is on analog 7. So we're going to be assigning both of them. So we'll do this one to be brightness 2. So let's go ahead and go over to the displays on the multiplexer. And we're going to select the one on number 3 first. We'll go ahead and put brightness 2 for that one. And then we're going to go to the one, oh, we got to click done or it won't take. And then we got to put the one on number 12. We'll also click display brightness control knob 2 for that one and click done. All right, so now we got to make sure we assign our potentiometers or it's not going to work. So like I said before, the potentiometers are, this one is going to be on A7, which is going to be brightness 1, and this one is going to be on A12, which is brightness 2. All right, so we're going to go to analog input here, and we're going to assign brightness 1 right here, which is actually bright B2 on the picture, and we're going to put that on 7, and then we're going to select brightness 2, and we're going to put it on 12. All right, so that should be it for that. So we can go ahead and save the configuration file. And now we can go back over to the simulator and we can reload the configuration. And now we should be able to use our brightness control. So if I move this one here, it should affect these two displays right there, right? So there you go. You can see that it is working. So you can choose, you know, halfway, all the way dim, or all the way super bright. All right, and then if I do this one here, it should affect these two displays because that's the way we set it up. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and there it is. And it doesn't go all the way to the top, so pretty much after like right here, it doesn't have any more effect on it, it appears. So it's basically just that's full brightness right there, even though we're like above halfway. And then we can go down and down, down, down until whatever level you want to put it on. So all right, so that's the thing about brightness. Now if we go over to the website here, and I remember I told you guys that brightness number 3 and number 4, you couldn't really select them, right? Because if you go to the 7-segment displays and you want to select the brightness control, it only has 0, 1, and 2, and 1 is not working like I said before. So technically you only have 2. But if, for example, you wanted or you needed to have more zones, in theory you can have 3 and 4 also, because they are selectable right here, but you cannot select them right here. But what you can do, and this is what I told you, you know, this is one of those things that I'm sure that they prefer that you do not do. But if it doesn't work right now and you need it, what else can we do? So if we go over to our configuration file and I open it here, you can see that we have the brightness controls right here, right? And right here, this tells it what brightness control knob you're going to use for the brightness of that display. So this is the display number. So this is the one on 36. This is the one on 32. This is the one on the multiplexer on pin 3 and the one on multiplexer on pin 4. I'm sorry, 12. So that's the brightness control that is controlling that one right there, right? So if you needed to add 3 and 4, you can add them here. Obviously, I mean, you can program them with this, but you would need to come over here and change this number to a 3 or a 4 if you needed to do that. But you just need to make sure that your hardware potentiometer assignments match with whatever number you want to use for that display. All right, but let's just pretend I didn't tell you that. All right, but that should pretty much cover it for brightness. It's not that much to it, you know, so but it's nice to have the option, because sometimes I have noticed these displays, they're either way too dim or way too bright. So it's nice to have the option, you know, to be able to control the brightness of them. All right, so now we're going to talk about the offsetting for data on the displays. So this one right here, you can see that it's justified to the left instead of to the right, which is the way they normally are. And I really don't understand why it's doing that. It did not do that in all my time that I've been playing around with displays. It did not do that until today, of course, right? But hopefully it'll help me prove the point. So let's just say that you wanted to make this display be right in the middle. So this one is a 5-digit one, right? So let's say you wanted a blank digit and then the 3 and then a blank digit. So what we can do for that is if we go back to the configurator and we click on that display, which is going to be the one on pin number 36, we can go right here and we can edit. And then right now I have a 0, which, like I said, it should have been offset all the way to the right, but I'm gonna put a 1 right here. And I did find that on the 5-digit displays, the offsetting of 2 doesn't work, only the 1. So we're gonna go ahead and confirm that, and that should be it. So now if we save the configuration file again, and then we can go back to the simulator here, we can click reload configuration, and there you go. Now you can see that the display is in the middle now. So we have a blank one and a blank one on either side of it. But like I said, with these Mac 7219s, I have to actually move the heading knob in order for it to display the correct data. And that's it. Every time you reload the configuration, you have to do that. Only with the Mac 7219s, I'm not sure why. And only with the 3 and the 5-digit ones, not with the 8-digit one. All right, so going along the same concept with the offsetting now, let's say that you wanted to put the two courses on this display because it has 8 digits, so you can technically have 3 digits, 2 blanks, and 3 digits, right? So let's say you wanted to move this one over here to be course 1, and then you wanted to have course 2 be on the right side over here. So what we need to do for that is we'll go to the website and we go to the one on pin number 32, and that has the course 1 right there. So we're going to click edit right there, and we're going to offset that one 5 spaces on that one. Okay, so now here's the way that works. If we go back over to my overhead here, so the way it works is if you offset it 1, it'll start here. If you offset it 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it'll do the first digit there and then the other 2 right there. So that's how I chose 5. So let's go ahead and go back to the website here, and let's just do it all in one shot so we can save some time. So if we go back to the aircraft again and we go to the MCP panel, and now we want to add course 2 also to that display right there. So now it should be okay because now you have already offset the other one, so the data is not going to be overlapping over each other because it would only display one of them. So we done that already, so let's go ahead and save the configuration file again, overwrite the previous one, and now we can go back over to the simulator again, reload the configuration, and of course move the heading so that one can display some data. And you can see now that we have the course 1 here and the course 2 here, and they match what you're seeing over here on the simulator, 340 and 238, right? So that's it for offsetting. So there's many different things you can do, play around with it and everything to get it to do whatever you want it to do. All right, so now we're going to go over to this display over here, and we're going to mess around with, right now you can obviously see that it has only 5 digits, right, with only 2 after the decimal point, right? But if we go over to the simulator and we look at our radio, we know that it has 3 digits after the decimal point, right? So what can we do about that? All right, so if we go over to the website here and we go to the cockpit main and we go to devices and systems here, you can see that, let me get this out of the way here. You can see that right here for the COM1 NAV1 radio, even though the selected one is actually like the general aviation radios here, I think that's what it is. You can see that I have selected right now the 2-digit one, right? So you need to click on the 3-digit one here, and then you just basically save the configuration file again, and of course overwrite the other one like always. And then we can go back over to the simulator again, or the overhead, and we can go ahead and refresh or reload the configuration, and you can see now that it has 3 digits after the decimal point, right? So if I go over here and start moving them around, you can see that the display is working appropriately there. Alright, so now if we go over to the one over here with the cabin temperature here, you can see that it's displaying about 23 degrees, and that's probably about what it's showing right there. I believe it's showing this temperature right here. So if I move this knob right here, you can see that the temperature will start increasing because I raised it, right? So it's already increasing, as you can see also on the needle here. that it starts increasing. So what I wanted to show for that one is that if we go back over to the website, that's going to be the display that's on pin number 12 of the output multiplexer. So if we come here, you can see the parameter that you have in there, right? And like I mentioned before, when you're doing offsetting, you're basically telling it how many places to the left you want it to start this digit right here. So let's say, for example, you wanted to offset this one 3 over here. You know, it would start right here because this will be 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's two ways of doing it. Obviously, you can just say offset it 3, and another way is you can do it like this. If we go to the display on pin number 12, we got the air temperature indicator right there. So we can click on that, we can hit edit, and you can do your 3 right there, or you can just say to add text before it or after it. So in this case, we are going to do it after, but you would need an extra space between the temperature and whatever you want to put in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put in, I had already done it before, you can see right here, but just so you can see how I'm doing it, I'm going to put a space and then a star and then a capital C. That'll be for degrees Celsius. So I can go ahead and confirm it, and then I can go ahead and save the configuration file again. And then we can go back over to the simulator again, reload the configuration file. Okay, so you can see that it actually put it over here, even though I think I put after. So let's go back over to the website and let's see what I put. So no, I put before, you see, so it was my mistake. So if you put after, confirm, save the configuration file again, go back over to the simulator, hit reload configuration, and there you go. Now you have 28 degrees Celsius on there. So that's how you can play around with it. Now, one thing I did want to mention is that the thing will, how do you say it? It will wrap around basically the text. So if you do something, you know, that will basically cause the data to split up, you might get like 1 or 2 numbers from this readout here, and they would be over here, and the other one would be over here. So you do need to be careful how you do the spacing or whatever, or how you do the offsetting. All right, so another thing that you can also do is you can just do like completely custom text. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to do let's go ahead and play around with the display that's on pin number 36. That would be the 5-digit MAX 7219. So let's just say that you wanted that one to be a completely just a generic display. So you would I'm gonna delete that parameter right there, and then so I'm gonna go ahead and go over to the cockpit main, and you go to sim control, and right here you can actually just select this to be a custom text display that you can put whatever you want. So now that we have that, we just would click on here and we would click edit, and let's just say we want to do the same thing, offset it 1, and then I'm gonna put the word I had already done it before, as you can see, approach. So let's just say you wanted to put that on that display. So you can confirm it and save the configuration file again. Now we can go back to the simulator again, reload the configuration, and hopefully, yeah, this one is going to show up properly because there's no knobs to move. I'm glad, because otherwise I don't know how I would have got it to show the correct letters instead of 888. So you can see that the letters are there and they're offset by 1 the way I put it, right? So that's one thing you can do. Another thing that I was thinking we can try is, let's go back to the website again, and we're going to play around with the one on number 32 that has the courses, and we're going to get rid of the courses there. We'll delete both of the parameters there, and I think what I'm going to do is go back to the aircraft, go back to the aircraft 737 radios, and I'm going to go ahead and put COM1 in there, active. Now what I want to do for this, I want to put the frequency over here, and then I want to put C1 for COM1 over here on this side. So what I would do, we know that the thing right now is going to be 5 characters right now. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then a space, and then I'll have a C1, and I'll do that on purpose. All right, so for now I switched the frequencies back to to be 5 digits because of what I'm going to do next with this one. So I want to put a C1 for COM1 right here. So if you wanted to include the frequency, then have a space, and then have C1 or N1 for, actually I don't even know if you can do the N for nav1, and or C2 for COM2, you would be able to put that there. So what we're going to do is go back over to the website here, and that one's going to be on display number 32, which is a COM1 active. So we can go ahead and click on that, and we're going to put the text. We're just going to put a space, a capital C, and a 1, and confirm it, and then save the configuration file one more time. Then we can go back over to the simulator, reload the configuration file, and oops, I put it before, so I messed up and I put it before. So you can see that it says COM1 134.40. so obviously I don't want that, so I'm going to go ahead and put, and it did include the space there actually, so I'm going to go ahead and do that again, but I'm going to put after, confirm, save the configuration file again, go back over to the simulator again, reload the configuration file last time, and there we go. So now you can see that it says 134.40 and then a space and then C1. So that would help you remember what frequency you have on there if you're using the display for multiple things. So that's a kind of a handy reminder there. So that's pretty much all there is to the options for 7-segment displays. Like I said, right now, I brought it up to Vlad. It's been a while now, probably close to a month, but he's been pretty silent lately because I think they're working on something major with the plugin and everything. And I'm sure they're working a lot on their SimVim panels program as well. But hopefully some of these issues that I showed you will get resolved in the future. But everything, for the most part works good. I mean, it's still usable the way it is now, but it would be even better when everything is working the way it should, right? So I guess I'm going to call it a day now for this one, and that's going to complete my little series on 7-segment displays. All right, hopefully you guys got something out of this one as well. And like I said before, if you have any questions that I couldn't answer here, that I missed, please send me either a message down below, or you can send me an email at cosmokid@gmail.com. It's spelled just like the YouTube channel. All right, well, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.